There may be attempts to put your focus in a direction to make you think and feel a certain way, which is not representative, really, of how the world is right now, or even worse, is giving you something very negative to focus on. So you begin to shape your way of being and your feeling about the world from the negative perspective. And then you're able to be controlled more succinctly by an external signal. Now, what's happening there is the beginnings of this reference to a copycat or a witchcraft type of frequency. What happens sometimes in the media is that there is an intent to try and take away your focus from something that is actually happening in the world. And so a copy is made of it, and then a different truth is attached to it through words or images. That's what we call an overlay that goes into the insertion. It has a different frequency signal to what is being talked about, and it is then encoded with an actual frequency, which then splits your focus away from your own source connection and nature's signal. And you end up believing something which is not only not true about what's being shown to you, but you're given your own view, which might be truthful, and it is attached to a type of insert or image or frequency signal, which is the opposite of what the truthful signal would be. It's a very sophisticated science which has been used for a very long time, so that you're even presented with what you believe in, but it is presented at a different frequency to the truthful frequency that would be registered through your own body via nature's signal. And then you turn against the signal in your own body, and you turn against the truthful narrative. You cancel it. You think, oh, but that truthful narrative, that's attached to something else. And because that something else has a negative frequency attached to it, you end up throwing the whole truthful thing out completely of your reality, and then you disconnect from the channel inside yourself where the truth about that is held. It's a way of going by stealth to focus on something that actually is true, to turn your attention against it, and then to throw it out complete even with the truthful thing that you were registering and that you knew all by yourself in the first place. Just like, in the Middle Ages, apparently, what happened was things were blamed, weren't they, on women, or they were blamed on certain marginal groups of people of a certain class or nationality, or who were affected by a certain disease. That's called a witchcraft accusation, where something that is actually going on is presented in a whole new way, and it's blamed on a very small minority in external reality. And then everybody begins focusing on them, and then they exclude them from society. That's exactly what's been happening in our own times, isn't it? There's been a problem in the external world with all sorts of things, including a so-called disease, and then it's been focused on a certain group of people in a certain way who then need to be excluded because they're very, very dangerous. And we must be very careful about them, and they might even be terrorists or people that we should not have in our society. There's just one example. But to be honest with you, there are a lot of moderate examples that have always been there, that have been going on in your normal life for a very long time. There's often a very big attempt to get you to focus away from something current and focus on something else when there is something painful happening in life. Maybe even your family will do it. And there's something that everybody's a bit uncomfortable about, so somewhere else everybody decides to have a party or to go on an outing or to focus on something else in their family chats. So the focus is pushed away. And then if someone says, yeah, but what about this? We really should be focusing on that. Then there may be a lead or a key figure who goes, well, we don't want to get into that negative stuff. Let's do something positive. And then they push the focus back towards that other thing that has been organized. That's the beginnings of the framework of a witchcraft frequency that can be used for negative attempt. Because although it's quite natural to put our focus on something else away from the negative to try and support ourselves and take positive action, if that's being controlled by someone as an attempt to cover up something or not face something, then you are having your focus switched into another channel determined by someone else. And then that's what happens when we go onto machines and media and even the commonplace video live streaming. We can have people who are turning up saying all the correct things, but actually their frequency, their human biological setting related to what they're plugging into can be something completely different from truthfulness. And this is something we have to really guard against in our times. There are lots of slick campaigns and people saying all sorts of truthful things, but their agenda is far from upholding the truth or combating things that try and stamp on the truth. Often they are actually part of something that is set up to try and erase the truth. I will give you another example. I put it in the newsletter just recently that there's a big thing going on in the media about a showcase trial. There's often showcase trials when there's an attempt to cover up something else. And this particular showcase trial is about something which is actually partially true, but the focus is being put on another group of figures who are being used as a very convenient sacrifice, so that then you think that the problem is being dealt with and everything's getting better because it's all being cleaned up. Meanwhile, the deeper reality of this thing that's being exposed is still there. It's still going on, and it's just moved away into a slightly more removed area of society, so the spotlight isn't on it, and it's continuing on as normal. And the figures who have been named that might also be connected with this at a much deeper level are out of the main focus for a while. And then anyone who raises this, there will be a piece of media that may come in that says, oh yes, they're partially correct, or no, they're not correct at all. And then there is a campaign to discredit them, and then something happens to them, and another piece of footage is then produced to show how they've been brought to justice for not telling the truth at the same time as this showcase trial is going on, where you really start to think that something's actually being dealt with. This is what we call double deception. It's where the truth is coming out, and then you're given another truth to fixate on, which is cleverly manipulated to make you think that something that shouldn't be happening is really being dealt with. And at the same time, then, somebody else who's really exposing this gets caught up in the drama and held up as someone who seemed to be telling the truth, but then are shown not to be. So you throw the whole thing out and you go, oh, well, that's that. I can't really tell. And you carry on with everyday life. It's a kind of overwriting. And that's exactly what happened in the past. It then became normalized that there would be people with diseases, there would be witches, there would be dissenters, there would be terrorists or dangerous people, and that's just the way the world is. We have lots of things to deal with those people, including all sorts of laws to get those people sorted out if they're dangerous, or we have all sorts of paid for beneficial campaigns to make sure that all the diseases are fought against, and there is something that we can do to help those who are ill in society. And then we have charities which then put their money towards fixing these groups where people are suffering, and everything is all sorted out, and we can live with all of these inconvenient truths in the world, when all of the time we just need to question, where does it all really come from? These diseases, these groups that maybe have something else to say. Why do we have these showcase trials? What's really going on at a deeper level? Why do we get some of the injustices and the people saying what they're saying, claiming that to be the truth? Possibly because there is something deeper there that we're all missing. And that's when we need to switch back into nature's signal and not anything that is outside us. So that when we have something outside us, we can hear and feel inside still, and we can discern for ourselves based on our own body feelings whether there's something truthful there or not. And we never get entrained by these other frequencies that might be presenting to us a lot of different signals and narratives. The body is always the key, and us plugging into our own space and our own source connection.